Hey, what is going on, guys? XpertFusion here, and today I'm going to be ranking all 8 episodes from Season 9 of AMC's The Walking Dead. This is the first 8 episodes of the first half of Season 9. Just got finished with, obviously, Episode 8 just about a little less than a week ago, and I'm definitely prepared to rank all of them. I just want to say, first of all, I think every episode this season has been above average, meaning they've all been pretty damn good. Some of them more than others, some of them okay, some of them just, incredible. So let's get into it. Coming in at number 8, my least favorite episode of Season 9 has got to be Episode 7, which was called Stradivarius. Honestly, I'll never be able to say that word completely correctly, but this episode, to me, was the weakest of the season. It just didn't feel like a full episode. It didn't have much really going on. You had a lot of slow scenes, but a lot of it was just character development and setup for the next episode, which I'm okay with. First of all, you had Carol and Henry going to Hilltop, and they stopped at Daryl's little camp on the way there, and it was mainly just development between the three of them. I did like the conversations Henry and Daryl had. I think this is going to come into great deal of importance in the second half, so that is good. And then we also had Michonne, Sadiq, and DJ taking the 5 of Magna's group to the Hilltop, which that went on longer than it really had to be. I guess a lot of it was just for the bonding between Michonne and them, kind of showing that they can earn their keep, that she can trust them, that they can trust each other. I guess that was important, which makes sense. And you also had Jesus and Aaron finding Rosita, and then stuff at the Hilltop with Tara being leader. Well, Jesus being the leader and Tara kind of doing most of the lead work. But other than that, not really much to build off of a full, well done episode. I think it was just what it needed to be, but it doesn't mean it was a good episode or anything like that. I think it was, I'd give it like a 7 out of 10 stars, which you might be like, well, that's really high. I consider most Walking Dead episodes pretty damn high. I don't think I'd ever give an episode of The Walking Dead less than 6 out of 10 stars. I'm going to be completely honest. So this one, probably like a 7 out of 10, something like that. So let's move on to the next spot. So coming in number 7, I've got Episode 1, which was titled New Beginning. A New Beginning was a great start to the season, great premiere, don't get me wrong. But compared to the rest of these episodes, it just doesn't hold up. It was very well done in kind of introducing the new beginning, the communities, how they all look. They didn't really show much of the communities other than we saw a lot of the Hilltop in the episode. We saw a little bit of Alexandria in the beginning, but other than that, it was mainly just really fast-paced. And it reminded me a lot of the first episode of Season 8 because of how fast-paced it was. It felt like they were just jumping through storylines, and scenes were just weirdly transitioned into one another, which I don't have much of a problem with it. I just felt like it was really too fast-paced for some people. Felt like it was like, okay, we need to, see how the communities are doing first. We need to see how they're doing. But they showed what they look like in the next few episodes, so I was fine with that. And then, obviously, after the big time jump, we got to see all the communities in their new ways. But this episode did have the interesting run into the capital of Washington, D.C., and that was kind of cool. It was a really nice scenery to have. And then you also had Gregory trying to kill Maggie at the end, which was not really shocking or crazy because it happened in the comics. So a lot of us saw it coming, and we were like, all right, once Gregory attacked Maggie, we were like, all right, yep, he's about to get hung. It's just what's going to happen. So that was great. And then you had Rick and them going to the sanctuary to make sure they're all good and seeing how everything's doing. So, okay episode. Wasn't that amazing, but it was a great way to bring us into the New Beginning story arc, for sure. Coming in at number 6, I've got Episode 2, which is titled The Bridge. The Bridge had probably one of the most gruesome scenes in the entirety of The Walking Dead, which was Aaron getting his arm just clobbered by that giant piece of the log. And that was just disgusting, but I absolutely loved how that was done, and the fact that they had Enid step up because Sadiq wasn't there. I thought that was great development for her. I think it would have been a little more interesting if Enid was actually kind of struggling a little bit, but at the same time, I thought it was still great either way. You had a lot of the, tension between the saviors and, the group kind of building up, obviously between Justin in particular, with, being a dick to Henry, and Daryl getting into a fight with him. And then Justin basically being the reason for Aaron getting his arm chopped off because he didn't, do the siren, which led the herd straight to where they were cutting the wood for the bridge. So that was an interesting turn of events. I love the action in this episode when they were killing the walkers. I thought it was very well done, very well choreographed, which is great. And then, of course, the episode ended with Justin getting absolutely shanked by, I believe it was Beatrice who killed him, right? Yeah. So that was great. I enjoyed it. That comes in at number 6. Coming in number 5, I've got episode 4, which is the Obliged. This episode had really not much going on, to be completely honest, and it wasn't a bad thing because what was going on was really important to the story. First of all, Michonne had a lot of screen time in this episode, especially in the beginning with her just slicing those walkers and her basically she just couldn't, stay sleeping. She had to do something. She had to take out her anger somewhere. I was fine with that. And then we had probably the most interesting part of the episode, which was Rick versus Daryl in the little one. Obviously the whole point of this episode was Maggie was going to go kill Negan, and Daryl had to go stop Rick from getting to Alexandria. So he took him out there, and then they ended up getting trapped in the little hole, and then the Walker herd came when the Saviors decided to start being dicks. And I feel like that's the only part I really don't like that much is the fact that they completely skipped over the shootout between the survivors and the Saviors in the camp, because we heard gunshots. That's all that happened. That's all that we didn't see what happened after. We just saw that there was dead bodies in episode 5. So I was kind of pissed that they just skipped over that shootout completely. Maybe they did it on purpose. Maybe something happened that we're not really aware of, and we're gonna see what happened in the next coming episodes. Maybe they're gonna do like the flashback episode, like I've been saying. But I don't know. I'll have to wait and see on there. And then, of course, the episode ended with the horse flinging Rick through the rebar, which was the most insane thing that's ever happened in The Walking Dead. And one of the craziest cliffhangers we've ever seen as well. So that comes in at the number 5 spot. Coming in at number 4, I've got episode 6, Who Are You Now? So, this episode was kind of like A New Beginning 2.0. It was the next time jump, even bigger time jump, an even crazier time jump than the one that was from season 8 to season 9. And this one, I love this episode. The way they introduced everything was just so well done. The overhead shots, the camera work in this episode was phenomenal. I mean, the camera work in the last 3 episodes have all been phenomenal. I mean, I think camera work's been good for the entirety of The Walking Dead. I'm just saying, specifically the last 3 episodes, it's been phenomenal. Just the camera work they did for Eugene killing those walkers, for Eugene and Rosita running from the Whisperers, so well done, so well done. We obviously got Magnus Group introduced, which was great as well. We had badass Judith being the new character, which is great. I still don't know how she shoots that python. I'm sure there's some explanation behind it. I'm not going to nitpick it or anything like most people do, but she's an awesome actress. We got Henry and Carol with long hair now. Henry actually looks like a badass now. He's actually played as a great actor. I think he's a great replacement for Carl. I've always said that. And I think Judith is also a great replacement for certain parts of Carl. We had Judith talking to Negan, which was amazing. Man, we had Michonne being a bitch, which a lot of people didn't like, but I thought it was fine for her character. It makes sense. I mean, well, we don't 100% know how much makes sense, because she was understandably a bitch because of Rick dying. I don't know if it's understandable. That's not understandable. You get what I mean. But something obviously happened, and we're going to learn what happened. We obviously don't know, so her being a bitch obviously makes more sense than we think as of right now, because they're going to explain it. But man, I just loved how this episode did everything. It had so many different storylines going on too. They didn't really show the hilltop. It was mainly just Alexandria and the kingdom, but they just did such a good job with it, And then we had the ending with the Whispers obviously being revealed, not really revealed, but kind of teased, with Rosita and Eugene hearing them, which was so terrifying and so well done. Next up, we have in the number 3 spot, we have episode 3, which was titled Warning Signs. This episode was like a mystery episode. This was like the one where you were like, who the hell is killing the Saviors? That was the whole story of the episode, First of all, we had one of the coolest montages in the beginning of the episode, which was Rick playing with Judith and Michonne playing with Judith. That was a beautiful sequence. I thought it was really well done. Just really nice. Just a nice, farewell to Rick not seeing his daughter for a long time. I'm sure he will again someday, maybe in the movies, but obviously not for a long time. So it was a nice, little sequence. So I also really liked the ending. The ending was the best part of the episode, when they found out who was killing the Saviors. I loved, first of all, the soundtrack. I loved the acting between the characters. I loved Arat begging for Maggie and Daryl to not let them kill her. and she was begging for her life. She was saying, it's not me anymore. I did it back then, but it's not me anymore. I'm one of you now. And when she said what she said to Sydney, no exceptions, made Maggie turn around and just leave. It was a heartbreaking scene, even though I didn't care about Arat that much, but it still made me care because I was like, holy shit, they're just straight up murdering these people, and some of them obviously didn't want to do it. They would have, been killed if they didn't do it. So that was just terrifying, but at the same time, it really just worked well. It was a really well done scene. The rest of the episode was also pretty well done. We had Rick and Carol doing a lot of stuff together. Specifically, they had a little encounter with Jed and DJ in the woods, which turned a little more violent than it had to, but obviously they didn't end up killing them, which I thought was kind of fitting for the characters. But yeah, Warning Signs is an episode most people don't really talk much about, but I thought it was fantastic. Coming in number 2, I have the mid-season finale, which was called Evolution, episode 8, of course. This episode was amazing. I've gone over that multiple times. Loved everything about it. You had Henry with the kids getting drunk. That wasn't the best part of the episode, but it was still, character development in certain ways, and it was to get him into the prison, so that'll obviously make sense for episode 9 with his encounter with Lydia. And then we had the just insane stuff with them going to find Eugene, and then how that turned out, obviously not so great. With the Whispers. Just the way they introduced them, the whole episode was just creepy. You had the beginning with the walker turning her, I think it was her, I don't know, head slowly to the left to look at Jesus, Daryl, and Aaron. A lot of people are indifferent about Jesus dying, but even if you are indifferent, you can't deny the fact that this episode was amazing. You just can't. You can't say the episode was bad just because they killed off a character you like. Specifically, I don't know. I'm not really caring that much about them killing off Jesus. I like the character. I thought he was cool, but he's a fitting death. And from my understanding, the actor was kind of being a little bratty, in my opinion. From what I've heard, he's a little bit of a brat on set, just complaining too much about not having enough screen time. It's like, bro, be happy around the show, man. Just be happy. But I think the death really did fit what needs to be done. We need a big death to start the Whisperer arc. The head on the spikes death, though, that starts the war. But this, we needed to start the arc itself, just like Glenn and Abraham started the Savior arc. But then I would say Sasha's death started the all-out war arc, or maybe even Spencer's death and Olivia. Maybe they started it because they started the wanting to rise up against Negan between Rick and the group. So maybe it was Spencer and Olivia, but also a little bit Sasha in some ways. So. And also kind of Benjamin a little bit. That kind of put Morgan on a war path if you really think about it. But yeah, so this episode just was perfect in the last 4 minutes. Easily the best part of the episode. Just the way how Jesus swung at that walker. He dodged. The way they dodged this shot, that was so well done. How he dodged. So well choreographed. And stabbed the hell out of Jesus. Just Jesus killing those walkers at the end was pretty badass too. And then the Whisperers just came running out of the woods. And you see Michonne. We see Daryl first of all shoot the one Whisperer in the head. Then you see Michonne slice the Whisperer. And then you see the other, Magna and Yumiko taking their shots as well at some of the Whisperers. And Aaron just stabbing the one through the chest. That was so awesome. I loved it. Loved it so much. And then we got the crazy cliffhanger of them being surrounded by Whisperers, which I cannot wait for episode 9 to see how that all turns out. But that is not the best episode. Number 1, the best episode of Season 9 so far, in my opinion, is Episode 5, What Comes After. I loved this episode. Absolutely loved it. Such a great send-off for Rick, in my opinion. I thought it was a perfect send-off. I wouldn't have done it any other way. Personally, I would have just not had Rick left in the first place, but, obviously the actor wanted to leave and all that, and he has the movies. If he wasn't having the movies, I would rather him die. But the fact that he's having the movies, I'm completely fine with them keeping him alive. And I loved how they did it. I really do. So, first of all, you had the great flashbacks with Shane, which was amazing. Herschel, amazing. Sasha, you didn't really need it, but I guess they got whatever actors or actresses they had available at the time. So, I was fine with seeing Sasha. I thought it was cool. Seeing all the dead bodies, the field dead bodies, that was a beautifully shot scene. All the flashback stuff with Rick was great, of course. And then you also have the amazing stuff between Maggie and Negan, which was such a good scene. It makes me miss Maggie even more, but I think she's coming back in Season 10, so I don't think it's really that big of a deal because she's going to be coming back. So it's like, we'll get to see her soon. But how well acted that was between Lauren Cohan and Jeffrey Dean Morgan is just phenomenal. First of all, then you had, of course, Rick finally getting to the bridge, and then the really amazing soundtrack they had playing while Daryl and the others showed up and were fighting off the walkers. You had a little bit of the Walking Dead theme song within the soundtrack, which was just amazing. Rick shooting the bridge. Man, it was so good. And then you had the introduction. We have Jadis obviously saving Rick in the helicopter, and then the introduction of Judith, which was so awesome the first time I saw it. I was like, holy shit, that is Judith Grimes. And I was so happy that they were doing a long-ass time skip because I thought it was very much needed. So I'm happy about that. Overall, Season 9 has been incredible so far. I can't say it's my favorite season because we haven't seen every episode, but if we're basing it off of half seasons, it's got to be one of my favorites. I don't think it is my favorite, though, because I think 6B right now is probably still my favorite half season. I still think 5B is really incredible, 4A is really incredible, 8B is really incredible. Just a ton of half seasons that I think are above average and just absolutely amazing. Even 6A is pretty good. So clearly, I don't know how I can rank this as of now in terms of half seasons, but in terms of full seasons, I think Season 9 is going to be up there, maybe the top 3 best all time in my opinion. We have to see the next 8 episodes, of course, and it all depends how good they are, how well they turn out. I think they'll be great. So hopefully you guys enjoy the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.